There are two non-negotiables when it comes to making money with Facebook ads. And this is after my experience, 7+ years, spending around $100 million on these platforms. It also applies to TikTok because they functionally are the same algorithm, slight differences, but basically the same. And I've been able to generate 200 million using this process, and now I'm going to share it with you for free. And it boils down into two different categories. We're talking about testing creatives and then setting a controlled environment for those tests to live so that we can accurately analyze the data and make the best next decision for our business. So we'll start with testing ad creatives. Back in 2017, it was very different. I was personally just learning Facebook ads for the first time. And every single YouTube video you would watch about how to run profitable campaigns, whether it was dropshipping focused or not, all revolved around interest testing, interest audiences. And all you needed to do was set your ad set at like $5 a day, $10 a day, select a bunch of interest groups and lookalikes, and then see which one performed the best, cut them if they didn't get a sale after like 24 hours or something, and then scale the ones that did get a sale, right? That was the strategy back then. And I'm sure a lot of you even think the same today based on the content that you're reading online. But back then, that was the only real strategy that people would speak about, and it was the way that I ran ads as well. But it hasn't aged very well because fast forward to 2024, and broad targeting is the absolute undisputed king when it comes to testing new ad creative. Why is this the case? Well, you no longer have to upload specific audiences because your ad creatives actually do the targeting for you. If you think about an organic post on Instagram, let's say you record a video with your phone and you upload it and it's about dogs, right? Well, that's broad targeting. You're not selecting the audience that your reel is going to be shown to for the most part. But the algorithm then goes out and finds people that will watch and interact with your post about dogs, other dog people for the most part. And the same system that pushes out organic content to the mass audiences on Meta is the exact same system that ads live on. The only difference is that you are paying for impressions versus organic, where the algorithm will show your content if it's good enough to be shown, basically. And so if we know that it's the same system on organic and paid, we can then infer that the creatives themselves actually do the targeting, not the audiences. We upload it with broad, right? But broad targeting actually finds users that will react positively to our ads in the same way that an organic post will do so. And the machine learning algorithm wants this to happen because it optimizes for user experience. This is basically what I just said. And it's also kind of how a lookalike audience works, because if you think about it, the first 1,000 people, or let's take this even to a different extreme. The first 200 people that view a reel that you post on Instagram is going to determine whether or not that reel gets more views, but also the type of people that interact with it positively. If you pay $200 to show your ad to a group of people, well, the next 200 people that your ad gets shown to are going to look a whole lot more similar to the very small percentage that reacted positively from that first 200. In other words, your ad gets smarter over time. With more ad spend and more time and more data, the ad gets smarter at finding who will react positively to it. And if you think about the way that this works, it's exactly how a lookalike audience works. Ads create their own lookalike audiences with broad targeting because the data compounds on each other and it gets closer and more similar to the original subset of users that reacted positively. I know it's a very high level kind of thought process, but it's why lookalikes are not useful. I'll go ahead and say it. They're somewhat useful maybe for scaling, but for the most part, especially for creative testing, not useful like they used to be, okay? And so all we need to do here is build a unicorn ad with broad targeting. In other words, an ad that can spend millions profitably for years. And I've done this with brands like Miracle, a bedsheets brand. I uploaded an ad codenamed VV871. back in February of 2022, so a long time ago. That ad is still online today, spending thousands of dollars profitably for the business. That is a unicorn ad. And yes, these are very difficult to find, and yes, you're going to have to spend money to find them. But once you find one, it makes up for all of the other failed projects and failed tests, right? One unicorn ad will completely make up for 99 failed tests. You might be thinking, well, Jory, look, I don't have the resources, I don't have the financial capabilities, or the time, or the team, or the agency, whatever it may be, to produce this volume of ads. And my response is, look, you have to start somewhere. You don't have to start to test 100 ads right out of the gate, but you do need to build a system that allows you to produce new assets consistently and in a controlled environment, which we'll talk about in a moment. And if you do this for a long enough period of time, I guarantee you will find a unicorn ad for your business. And especially if you set it up with broad targeting, because broad targeting is the way that you scale ads these days, not with audience testing. Okay, let's talk about the controlled environment. Let's dive a little bit deeper into it. So I know it's kind of a vague term. Basically, to simplify a controlled environment, we want to only be testing one variable at the same time, which means technically in the ad set and ad settings, we want to have everything else besides the ad creative be a constant variable or a controlled variable, right? And so for video ads, the dependent variable, meaning your hook, your retention sequence, or your call to action, meaning your scroll stop, your intent builder, and your action prompter, right? Stopping the scroll, getting them to build interest and intent with your business, product, and service, and then getting them to take an action after completing the video or after watching the video or after interacting with the ad, right? And also, on the ad set level, only test one ad style. This is a big mistake that a lot of people make. They'll test like a video with an image, with a different style of video, and with a carousel and a catalog, all in one ad set. And not that you won't get results from that, you could, but when it comes to analyzing the data, determining what the reason was as to why a certain test did well or did not do well, it's actually quite difficult to build conclusive evidence with that because it's not a controlled environment. And so just have separate ad sets, guys. It's okay. You don't want to be lumping images and videos in the same ad set. You don't want to be lumping user-generated content with animation video because you want a concise data pool. You want to make it easy for yourself or whoever's in your ad account in analyzing the data. You don't want your ads to compete. You want your ads to complement. And so you want micro variation edits. So that's changing things like the headline in a static image. That's changing hooks on the video but keeping everything else the same. And you want to split test on one variable at a time so you can accurately analyze the data and find the best combination. And if you don't know how to build iterations, here are 5 ways you can do that. Number 1 is the medium. That's going to be the format of your ad. Is it a static image? Is it a short form video, mid form, long form video? You can also bundle in like carousels and catalogs, especially if you have a high amount of SKUs or a high amount of products. But these are your core 4. Test different mediums. Why? Because different mediums react differently to, that's kind of a tongue twister. Let me find a way to rephrase that. Different mediums are shown to different users. Oh, okay, that's good enough. We'll stick with that one. Okay, so you want to have images, you want to have short form, you want to have mid form, you want to have all of them in your ad account. You want to test all of them because certain users have a higher propensity to react positively depending on the medium. So you want to maximize your possible user pool of qualified users to purchase from your business. Second, the marketing angle or your messaging, right? This one's pretty straightforward. Every business has a unique set of angles. I can't give you a A to Z list or a 1 through 5 list. You have to figure that out yourself. What are the reasons why people purchase from your business? Product by product. Benefits, not features. Identify them. Test them with different mediums. So, for Miracle, for example, one of our top angles was temperature regulation. And so we would test temperature regulation as a messaging angle with static images, with short form video, with mid form video. You kind of see how it's coming together now, okay? Next, creative style. So you want to pair a marketing angle with a creative style, which is basically like the production direction of the ad. I'll give you a couple examples. Podcast, X reasons why, TikTok made me buy, animation, founder. All of these are different styles or production directions that you can take the video in. And you can also somewhat apply it to static images as well. I know certain styles aren't going to be really all that replicable, like podcast. Very difficult to create a podcast style static unless you take a picture. But for the most part, pairing different styles with different messaging angles or marketing angles with different mediums. Now you see how the whole thing starts to come together, right? Next, your heuristic, the script of the video, which is the cognitive bias. How is the ad selling you? Is it trying to get pure engagement? Is it trying to be relatable to the user? Is it trying to showcase value? Right? And so you can write different scripts that have the same style, the same medium, and the same angle, but you just write a different script that is more relatable or more value driven or more engagement driven. There's a couple of other ones as well, but these are the ones I'll hit on for now. And you compare them. If you have a naming convention set up in your ad account, you can use this heuristic in the naming convention and use breakdowns to filter by performance. Message me on Twitter if you need help with that. Caption style. Another one for video specifically. Look, you might not think this is true, but I can promise you I've tested it. Different caption styles can have vastly different performance. So I've tried a lot of Instagram native where you have the white pill like this. Like imagine this was white and then you have the black text inside, right? And you could try Alex Hormozi style captions, which are like the color changing emojis, right? Or maybe you have a custom caption style where it's different than either of those two. And all of this boils down into interchanging variables that can hit different user cohorts on Meta. And that is how you scale. You don't scale just by raising budget vertically on an ad. You scale by building iterations using all of the variables I just shared with you, and you execute on them in a controlled environment. And then use the data to inform your next decision. If you found this video useful, please drop a like rating wherever you're watching it on the internet, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.